The Rewind Sports.
Sports 60. From the city of big shoulders, the jewel of the Midwest, comes a sports show that's one of a kind. From iconic players to iconic stadiums to iconic teams, this is my kind of town. Chicago! And the Rewind Sports 60 is my kind of show. From Air Jordan to Sweetness to Papa Bear Hallis, this city works hard, but plays even harder. Danny Carlino and Jerry Riles bring you the Rewind Sports 60. Live. The Rewind Sports 60 starts now.
Welcome, everyone, to another edition of the Rewind Sports 60. We're streaming live on YouTube Live, Facebook Live, and, of course, the RewindSports60.com. This is another edition of the Rewind Sports 60. I'm Jerry Riles, and for the next 2 hours, the fastest 2 hours of sports conversation, ladies and gentlemen, we have a star-studded show for sure. So sit back, kick back, and enjoy. Hey, it's cold outside. It's probably like 21 degrees out there. If you got through all the snow and snow thing, God bless you. God help you. Hope you're able to shovel yourself out. But now the frigid temperatures are here in the Chicagoland area, 21 degrees. So sit back and enjoy 2 hour extravaganza as far as the Rewind Sports 60 is concerned. We're broadcasting, streaming from the world's famous Serenello's Restaurant Italiano right here in the heart of Wheeling. We are on the second floor in the Candle Room, ladies and gentlemen. It is brunch time all the way until 2 o'clock p.m. on this Sunday, 2 o'clock p.m. on Sunday. So come on down here. If you want to battle the cold temperatures, feel free. Come on down. The food is fantastic. Chef Michael Bonner is in the house taking care of everything. You got Chef Derek McIntyre down there at the carving station with the omelets and everything. And, of course, we're here upstairs in the Candle Room, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., the fastest 2 hours in sports conversation. So come on down here for brunch. But if not, hey, just kick back, enjoy yourselves, and wait for these football games to get unraveled. We're just a few games away from the Super Bowl coming up down in Atlanta, and it's going to be, regardless of the 4 teams that are remaining in this football playoff picture, it's going to be one heck of a football game come Super Bowl Sunday, that's for sure. But, ladies and gentlemen, I tell you, we got Bears conversation. Yeah, we're still going to talk some Bears with Chuck Pagano being announced as the offensive coordinator. We'll get a chance to talk with John Moon Mullen of NBC Sports Chicago. He's the Bears beat reporter. He'll tell us what we can expect from Pagano and, of course, the controversy surrounding Kansas City Chiefs running back or former. That, of course, Kareem Hunt. The Bears are interested in tagging him, bringing him in here, and spelling Jordan Howard at the running back position, but there's a lot of controversy surrounding this young man. We'll get a chance to talk to John Moon Mullen about that. Then, of course, hot stove is just in the air. Baseball is in the air. The Cubs convention is in the air this weekend down at the Sheraton in Chicago, the Cub convention. ESPN AM 1000 Cubs beat reporter Jesse Rogers will be joining us on our TRS60 hotline to talk about the fun weekend that's taking place in Chicago at that Cub convention. And, of course, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk some basketball, believe it or not. We're certainly going to talk some basketball. The NBA All-Star Game is just around the corner as well. I don't know if the Bulls are going to have any representation, but we will get a chance to talk to Bulls beat reporter, ChicagoBulls.com. Now, of course, Sam Smith, he'll be joining us on our TR60 hotline as well. So, it's not much to say about the Bulls, but, some people say they're tanking. They're planning on tanking so that they can get the number 1 pick in the lottery. And that's, of course, the big man out of Duke. We'll get a chance to talk to Sam Smith and pick his brain as far as that is concerned. And ladies and gentlemen, we welcome your phone calls right here, 847-777-0140, 847-777-0140. The marvelous one is in the house, Dan Marber. How are you, sir?
I'm great.
You're looking good, man. Thanks.
Feels more like 21 below zero. I don't know.
I know. I tell you, marvelous. I tell you.
Don't stop me. I saw 3 games yesterday, 3 great high school games, and a game on Thursday. So I'm still doing my thing. And in respects to your opening, Pagano, he replaced Fangio, right?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
I just want to make sure. I want to clarify that. Okay, very good. So that
did I say offensive coordinator? I'm sorry, defensive coordinator, ladies and gentlemen. Defensive coordinator.
But and the Bulls are doing great, 10 in a row. They're on their way.
Yeah.
to their good destiny.
I was about about to say it depends on how do you describe great? What you describe
Yeah,
great
yeah.
as being, right?
They're achieving their goal.
Yeah, Dwayne Wade paid his last visit at the United Center, and the fans treated him very, very well, respectfully. And of course, Benny the Bull actually, you know how the players nowadays they're trading jerseys. Benny the Bull had a jersey and presented it to Dwayne Wade, and Dwayne Wade took his game jersey off, and they exchanged jerseys. So, a guy from Chicago, he made it.
Yep.
He made it,
Sure
and we'll get a chance to talk with Sam Smith about that. And of course, the Italian Stallion, DC, Danny Carlino is in the house. What's up, DC?
I'm going to be with you again. It's been a couple of weeks. Glad to be. Well, I'm not glad to be back out in this, although the sun is out. But I had to go through the Alps here in Wheeling to find a parking spot. The nice little snow mountains.
Yeah.
And I think I saw the Von Trapp family outside somewhere along. But after I cross-country skied in from the parking lot, here I am.
There you go. I know, man. It's luckily my snowblower isn't working, so I had to get
great.
the old shovel out, and I'm and I got a bad wheel, so I'm limping and trying to shovel. And luckily, my neighbor has the plow. So he gets into the driveway, man, and plows that thing out, and it was a sigh of relief for yours truly, because I was dreading
Well,
it.
especially that end of the driveway.
Oh yeah,
Once it gets run over a couple of times, and the friendly
then
folks
the
at the
village.
village help pack it back in. I know
They're doing their job.
Yeah, they're doing a job, but it makes it a little tough.
They're doing it a little bit too well,
Yeah.
Marvelous.
Well, luckily, I got out there early enough with the driveway. The slope was fairly light, which was good and bad.
Right.
It was good early, but it kept blowing over the stuff you did.
Yeah.
I swear to God, I shoveled in front of the door 5 times. Because, what's this? I ain't going on the roof.
Yeah, I tell you. But
I'm trying not to
Marvelous,
snow down with a rake.
you're right. They're doing their job in the village for sure. But unfortunately, the snow that they're pushing back up at the base of your driveway, it's heavier than the snow.
Right.
Those are boulders. and then they freeze over.
Yeah.
It becomes ice immediately.
Yeah, and you try to shovel it toward where it wouldn't come back. If you shovel it one way, then it's going to come back to you next time we come by. So you try to shovel it toward the
Right.
curb the other way. So if you take it down the block, that's the other guy's problem, or whatever.
Well,
Take
that's
it-
the thing. I feel guilty because if I push it over to my neighbors, knowing that the plow is going to continue to push it, and then now all the snow is up in front of their driveways, and I have some kind of elderly neighbors, and I don't want them to have to go through.
Luckily, I'm on the corner, so I'm okay. You can take it down the block.
Yeah. So what I actually do is I clear out all the way to the street, into the street,
Yeah.
so that even if the plow's coming, because I clean it out literally in the middle of the street, they push it back. It's not going to get up in my
Yeah.
driveway. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's not all of it. If you don't do it that way,
Yeah.
then it's all it's going to
Yeah.
be. Well, it's give and take.
Yeah. They give it back to us, and we have to take it.
Exactly.
But don't let them catch you putting into the street. I know in Northbrook that's illegal.
Is that right?
Yes.
See, certain things I don't get. Some of the rules like that,
Yeah, right.
like even like with leaves and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
But who's going to catch you, right?
But it's funny.
I've never
because
done it
Some
publicly.
villages. I think as far as your knowledge is,
Yeah,
I don't
right.
recall. Right.
Right.
But some villages are like, yeah, go ahead, put your leaves in the
Right.
street, and if you put one leaf in other villages, if
I
you
know.
put one leaf in the street.
Well, we'll wait for the Mueller investigation.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God.
And why am I paying
God.
for the street sweeper, for God's sake, to come by? Suck up the leaves, right?
Yeah, and if you guys and girls are out there, bundle up, get your layers on, make sure I got the coat in the car and everything. So temperatures are supposed to hover around the mid to low 20s, and in the evening, single digits. So if you're planning on going out, whether you're running to the store or whatever you have to do, make sure you're dressed properly and appropriately, and we want you safe and warm, that's for sure. We're going to take a short time out, ladies and gentlemen, and get to this fabulous show that we have in store for you. So again, if you want to participate, feel free to give us a ring, 847-777-0140, 847-777-0140. We'll get a chance to talk to John Moon Mullen of NBC Sports Chicago about the Bears and the defensive coordinator.
Does anyone even know who their offensive coordinator is this year? I don't know.
It's Matt Nagy.
That's what I mean.
All those
Nobody
crazy
knows.
plays that he's running. Man.
I haven't seen as many crazy plays since last time I saw the Harlem Globetrotters play.
Exactly. And they probably taken a page out of Nagy's notebook. Hey, man, that's pretty good. Maybe we should try
The
that.
only thing I haven't seen is the water and the confetti.
Don't give him any ideas, Danny.
As far as I know, they haven't taken anyone's purse from the stands.
Danny, don't give him any ideas. Keep it locked in, ladies and gentlemen. You got the Rewind Sports 60. Welcome back, everyone, to the Rewind Sports 60. Yours truly, Jerry Riles, joined by the marvelous one, Dan Marvelous Marver, and of course, the Italian stallion himself, Danny Carlino, broadcasting from the world's famous Cerinolo's Ristorante Italiano here in the heart of Wheeling. In the second floor in the candle room, and it's a busy, despite the weather, despite the cold, pretty busy downstairs in the main dining area. As of course, brunch is going on all the way until 2 p.m. every Sunday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. right here at Cerinolo's. Come on down and enjoy. It's a fabulous time. You can also check out the show. We're here every Sunday, back at our regular time slot, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Now that the Bears have hung up their cleats for the winter, and I know they're chomping at the bit to get back out there because it was a bitter ending to a fabulous season. Unfortunately, they didn't reach their goal as far as getting to the Super Bowl, but we're here every Sunday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Sunday brunch, the fastest 2 hours in sports conversation. Come on out. And, of course, the Bears conversation. You can talk Bears 24/7 here in the city of Chicago, the greatest city in the world. And we're going to definitely do that with the changes and the moves and everything that's taken place with the franchise since the season has concluded with that disappointing 16-15 loss to the Philadelphia Eagles over on the lakefront. And this man was there in the house, and of course he's been following every track of the Chicago Bears. He's a friend of the program and a longtime friend, of course, and we love to have him on every single time we can get him. He is a Bears beat reporter for NBC Sports Chicago. He's the man, John Moon Mullen, on our TR60 hotline. What's up, Moon?
Hey, guys, and you're right. I've been there. I was there when Robbie Gould was cut, and I was there Sunday, and somehow the two seem connected, don't they?
And Robbie Gould was there, too, from what I understood.
Yes, that's right. Good point. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I think the organization, if there's one move they've always rued, I think number one might be giving away Bobby Lane to the Detroit Lions once upon a time for a little bit of money, and then the second would be getting Robbie Gould out of town.
Unbelievable. I know, Bear fans and Moon, I had a chance to look at the clip of the missed field goal about a week later, and the feeling in my gut was still gut-wrenching, as they'd say, man. It was a tough one for sure. What did you think of everything that transpired when that happened?
I didn't put great stock in when he missed when the Eagles called the timeout. He sort of sent it right down the middle and made that. I thought, oh boy, he will not make the next one. It's almost like when you mistakenly hit it, or you're on the golf course and you just hit your first drive into bad places, and then you put a ball down and this one doesn't count, but then you just threw 80 down the center. So the one that didn't count, he made with no problem.
Right.
But I thought it was interesting in the aftermath with the post-mortem with Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy, that Nagy seemed to almost say, well, you should kick it higher and harder, because the question about whether it was deflected, and even if it was, I don't think it affected the flight of the ball. But Nagy was both, kick it higher, kick it harder, and oh, by the way, stop going on television afterwards either too. So that was a smart move. Yeah,
I'm glad you mentioned the partial tip, so to speak. I don't necessarily think the ball was tipped. I think it was close, but I think from the angle and the snapshots, the frame by frame that we saw, gives all indications that the ball was tipped. But it got enough distance, it got enough height, and we've seen him hit the upright before, previously. So I don't think it was necessarily a tip, so to speak, but it's just an unfortunate situation because you're right. The Eagles did what they were supposed to do. They called the timeout, they freeze the kicker, and it worked for them.
It's like the Pepsi commercial.
It did, and I think the game was really lost earlier. And I have to think back to some of the specific opportunities, but you guys know, having watched this long enough, every game, typically between semi-even, remotely evenly matched teams, you're going to get a certain number of chances. And the Bears had multiple chances for touchdowns. People want to say, well, don't give Parkey too much blame. Maybe he did score more than half the points, got 9 of them on field goals.
Right.
Those were also possessions that went into the red zone. They weren't getting touchdowns. They were only getting field goals. Those are opportunities that the offense can look in the mirror and say, you know what, let's point the thumb before we point the finger. Yeah, he missed it. And every lineman will tell you, did tell you after the game, listen, man, I missed a block once or twice. You know, it just happened that was the one. And I think that's the minor takeaway I have is they're not there yet. And that's what the off season has to do. Is we're going to be seeing 4 teams in the championship games today. Bears need to take another step to be into that echelon, and they weren't there. They should have put the game away earlier, and it should never come down to Cody Parkey. So that's it.
No, I agree with you, but don't you also consider, you know, the coaches, Doug Peters on one side with the Eagles, and of course Nagy on our side, and these guys are almost carbon copies of one another, so they're playing a chess match, a chess game within themselves because they know each other so well. So, you know, the low-scoring affair wasn't too much of a surprise to me because these two guys know each other like the back of their hand.
Well, certainly with the Bears' defense. I mean, in one respect, I think the low score did surprise me a little bit, just simply because both, as you say, they're out of the same egg. I mean, they're both chicks are offensive guys, and only get 16 and 15 points was like, really? So I thought there would have been more scoring, but to me that should have been relatively equal. I do think the Eagles rate, you know, for all the quote weapons that the Bears went last offseason with, you know, Robinson, Gabriel, you know, the draft, Miller, all that sort of thing. I want to say Trey Burton, but that's another whole story. I still think the Eagles had a slight edge on offense with Ertz and Jeffrey and Foles, even at this point with more playoff experience. Where I thought the Bears should have won that game was on defense. I think they were capable of holding. You hold a team under 17 points. This goes back a long time. That's a magic number for wins. They didn't do it. The defense did it. The offense didn't do its part and get more than 3 field goals and 1 touchdown.
Well, what I thought was funny a little bit was some of the. I think Jerry had brought up some points leading up to the playoff game, the question marks about Trubisky and his youth and some of the issues that come with it. Now, obviously, on the one drive where they did get a touchdown, he was great. He did what he needed to do on the last drive to put them in good position. So at some very key moments, he was great. But he had 3 balls that could have easily been intercepted in that first half. And
right.
Unluckily for the Bears, weren't. And I think he even had Jerry mentioned in the Vikings game that he had some issues with the play clock. And I think it happened again in the playoff game, kind of a little foreshadowing. These are like kind of rookie mistakes that happen at the worst possible time. What do you think about his growth? Just going through it one time, and the whole coaching staff going through it one time, kind of help? You think going to go forward for next year for their growth?
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. Like rookie mistakes. That's sort of. And I've read a rather extensive look at Trubisky. Did they get what they needed in terms of his development this year? And in many ways, yes. Qualitative and quantitative. Quantitative meaning he cut down on his sacks and he cut down trimmed a little bit off how long. He was like one of the top longest holding the football last year in the pocket. Well, he improved on that. He took his accuracy up closer. You know, they loved the fact that he was 66 or 68%, something like that, in college, which again, he's not going to do that in the NFL, but in today's NFL, you should be above 65% completion. Well, he got him up to 66%. A lot of those things were better, and you hit a big nail on the head with that. When the game was on the line, he got his team into position for a win. Too bad he couldn't have taken it all away. But, and to pull the camera back to the bigger picture, you're spot on. Even late in the season, Nagy said, he was pointing to Trubisky's growth, and Nagy's been nothing but majorly positive, which he has to be, because that's just the way he is, and he probably doesn't get this job if he doesn't tell Ryan Pace he loves his quarterback. But Nagy mentions Trubisky coming off the field and kind of nodded and said, "Yeah, man, I can't do that." Meaning one of those throws that could have been a pick six, except the DB could have caught the ball. Those are the things. That's why they're not at the next level, and those are the things that have to be fixed next year. The tweaks, got to knock some more burrs off. Remember back in camp, guys, when I think I was reporting about the number of interceptions that were happening in practice, and that's not a good thing for those just tuning in. I remember way back when, the year Jay Cutler had no interceptions for the first 14 practices, turned out to be his best year. I mean, you kind of saw previews. Well, this year, remember Nagy wasn't too upset about the interceptions in practice. He said, I want my guy to start pushing the envelope. I want him to try to get the ball, not force it, but get it into where he needs to get eventually. And I found myself thinking back on that with those picks, Danny, that it's kind of like, well, maybe maybe those throws are the consequences of a year not spent stressing ball security maybe as much as they might have last year with John Fox. So, but those are all the little things. And again, the difference between 12-4 and being in the NFC Championship game and 12-4 and watching the NFC Championship game on TV are those little.
Yeah. We're on with John Moon Mullen, NBC Sports Chicago Bears beat writer on our TRS60 hotline. Real quick, let's get back to Cody Parkey and the press conference. You talked about Nagy and, of course, General Manager Ryan Pace. They were not pleased at all that Cody Parkey had made a national television appearance on Good Morning America. What were your thoughts about that? And are his days numbered here in Chicago as a Bears kicker?
I can't imagine that they're not. I'm surprised they haven't made a move yet. Although, in one respect, Ryan Pace, this was a mistake on his part. And again, I think John Fox actually, not to cast mud on him, one of the reasons that they did get rid of Robbie was because Fox had lost confidence. Remember, he missed a huge kick in 2015, and the Bears were like 5-6 or 6-7 or whatever, and taking on San Francisco and Washington in consecutive weeks. And Robbie missed kicks late in those games that were decisive. Mm-hmm. And then in the next preseason, he misses a couple of PATs in preseason. The head coach lost confidence, and that's when they made the move. So fast forward to now, Pace gave this guy guaranteed money. So to kind of cut him out of hand is like, I mean, it's also admitting a mistake. So my guess, one guess is that they'll keep him, and he has to win the job so far and away next training camp. This is one of those cases, in a boxing match, the challenger has to beat the champ decisively. You can't just kind of squeak by on points. You got to win by a knockout, or you got to really do it. In this case, if Parkey and the challenger are even, the challenger will win. He'll be the Bears kicker next year. Parkey's going to have to decisively outkick somebody to keep that job, and I really don't think he's going to.
Yeah, he's the underdog champion, if you're trying to say, right?
Yeah, something like that, right?
Yeah. And Moon, you're the best for sure, and I wish we can continue to talk with you all day about everything. I know you want to get relaxed and everything with your recent treatment you just experienced. But real quick, before we let you go, the conversation during the offseason, Nagy and the Bears have some interest in former Kansas City Chief running back Kareem Hunt, and of course, many of us know the situation that unfolded with the domestic abuse or the assault charges against him in a Cleveland hotel. Actually, almost a year ago in February of 2018, but the video kind of like just came out a few months ago, and it's a controversial issue just taking place. The Bears have some interest in him. Is it a smart move for the Bears to try to go after this guy? Even though, Jordan Howard's not bad, but Nagy seems not to be too favorable to him, and he's looking to Kareem Hunt. Is this something that the Bears should really look into, and will the fan base embrace it?
Yeah, I think that's really a complicated one, guys. I can really argue both ways, and I feel kind of both ways. I mean, there was something totally repugnant to watching that video. I also think I love being able to argue both sides. Yeah, but what did she say, or what prompted that? And not that mitigates it, because I think the Hunt has obviously some anger, some issues because that's not the first individual he's exchanged, he's traded hands with here. I also have a problem though with completely ending somebody's career in any business for one mistake, or even, it wasn't a capital offense. It's not something he's going to go to jail for. If I sound like I'm arguing both ways, I am, and I have mixed feelings that a young man makes a mistake. His work life in his chosen line of work should be over. That said, but how do I know you're not going to do that again, Ray McDonald? Right. I don't really have a clear feeling of that, guys. I think they should investigate it. I don't think somebody's work life should end on something like that, when I really don't even know some of the other circumstances. Not that it excuses it, that there was more to it maybe there should have been some sound there. But bottom line, to your point, is yeah, I'd look into it. If I give him a contract, plus you're probably going to miss him for anywhere from 2 to 6 games next season. So this is going to be a conditional hire, even if they do it. But short answer, yeah, I do think they should look at it again. I don't think somebody's life should end at age 23 for a misstep, but I want to see how he makes it right.
Yeah, hey, Moon, we can continue to go on and on regardless. And the storyline will continue to go on, and I certainly agree with you as well. No one's perfect, that's for sure, and we've all made some type of mistake, whether, conscious or, unaware, whatever. We've made some type of mistake in our professional careers, and I understand you maybe get a slap on the wrist or whatever. This is a little bit extreme, and he did lie to the Chiefs twice, and that's one reason why they said, hey, we can't deal with this anymore. I think if people are straightforward and they're honest about their mistake, this country, we're prone to, offer forgiveness and say, okay, clean up your act, watch yourself, and let's get back out there. But I agree with you.
I think America, we're founded. We're kind of a nation of second chances. We're all booted out of somewhere. Somehow.
Yeah.
But the example I use, and I thought it was again a deplorable crime, was Mike Vick and the dogfighting stuff. Well, Vick is quiet. He served his time, and then I think is under the radar worked on some causes to make animals. I don't know. I'm fuzzy on the details, but my point is, he paid his dues. He tried to make it right. Again, not endorsing what he did, but that's a good example. And ironically, then he comes in and has a great 1 or 2 great years in Philadelphia with Andy Reid and a quarterback coach named Matt Nagy. So, I think Nagy knows a little bit about how second chances can work if the guy has the right mindset going into it.
Yeah, and of course, if he's got the right, support group around him also to steer him straight. Hey, Moon, thank you so very much again for taking time out to join us and talk Bear football. And
anytime, guys. Always fun with you guys.
Hey, hang in there, brother, and we'll certainly be knocking on your door, ring your phone in the near future, my friend.
All right, go up and have an Eggs Benedict for me, would you? That's great stuff over there.
Don't tempt us, John. Take care of yourself.
They get it right over there. That's good stuff.
Thank you, sir. Have a good one. We'll talk to you.
All right, guys.
So long.
He's the best, ladies and gentlemen. John Moon Mullen, NBC Sports Chicago Bears beat reporter, joining us on our TRS60 hotline. I'm going to take a short time out. Then we're going to go downtown to the Sheraton. Yes, indeed. Well, not literally we're going to walk down there or drive down there, but Jesse Rogers, the ESPN AM 1000 Cubs beat reporter, is at the Cub convention. The final day of it, he'll be joining us to recap everything that unfolded at the Sheraton Hotel. Keep it locked in. This is the Rewind Sports 60, broadcasting from the world's famous Ceranolo's Restaurant the Italiano, right here in the heart of Wheeling, ladies and gentlemen. Keep it locked in. We're pleased to be joined by ESPN AM 1000 Chicago Cubs beat reporter, the very own, on our TR60 hotline, Jesse Rogers joining us. Jesse, how are you?
I'm good, guys. The only Harper that showed up in Chicago this weekend was the storm. No signs of Bryce. It looks like as is for the Cubs lineup going into 2019.
Yeah. Joe Madden early in the week told a reporter that Harper's not coming to Chicago.
How rare is that a manager will be like, we're not, I'd stay out of that sort of stuff.
Right.
It's like, no, he ain't coming.
Okay. Right.
Well, if this was November or December or even, well, I guess those 2 months in particular, he wouldn't have said that. But now that we're into late January, it's kind of obvious who the players are and who aren't, Well, so again, if this was a couple months ago, I don't think he would have said that. But the Cubs are in the are not category, it looks like.
Yeah.
One of the few teams that are not, seemingly. There's always 8,000 mystery teams, it seems like. No one knows what's going on. It's 8 years, it's 7 years, it's 20 years. We don't know what's
happening. Come on, guys. They got the Scalzo.
Baby steps.
There you go. So, Jesse, before we get into your anticipation, expectations of this team in 2019, you had a chance to check them out in a fun setting, so to speak. That, of course, at the annual Cub convention taking place at the Sheraton Hotel right there on Columbus. What was the atmosphere? What was the environment like down there this past weekend?
It was kind of, quieter than normal in the sense that, like we just said, there's been no big addition. They didn't just win the World Series. there's probably more negative aspects to some things, the way the season ended, Addison Russell, than there are positive because of what I just said. No big addition, no shiny new toy to talk to other than Descalso, So it was a little more subdued than normal. It was Lee Smith, Hall of Fame now, so that was nice to see. So it's kind of, 2 years ago, it was all about that trophy, right? Even Anthony Rizzo was on his honeymoon, so he wasn't there. He's as charismatic as they come. So I call it a little more subdued, only compared to the past. But we're talking about Cub fans. We're talking about the Cub convention, even in their worst years. The fan base is pretty nuts about their team, and it is a likable team at the end of the day. So I felt like Chris Bryant kind of stole the show with some of the things he said to reporters on Friday, and then publicly Friday night, making fun of St. Louis. And then earlier to reporters, myself included, talking about free agency and how upset players are. So I feel like Bryant kind of made some headlines in a sense because we certainly don't have headlines about new players. We don't have headlines about a great postseason run, but he certainly did say some things that stood out.
ESPN AM 1000 Chicago Cubs beat reporter Jesse Rogers joining us on our TRS60 hotline. I agree with you. I think that some of the statements and comments that he made were some bulletin board material, but definitely some headlines around the papers for sure. Also, I want to talk with you as far as what Theo Epstein had to say. He said this is the hardest year that he's had to work during the off season. Even though the Cubs haven't made any, splashes here or there, but he said it's the hardest that he's worked since he's been, with the Cubs. What were your thoughts on his comments?
Well, it makes sense. I mean, think about it in a different job, any job. If your boss said, "I'm giving you all this help. I'm giving you some assistance. I'm giving you some more." Money for paper and for pencils, you'd have an easier time at work. Well, this offseason, he had less to work with, so he had to work that much harder. He had to work the trade front harder because he didn't have money for free agency. He has to work the agents better to try to get a bargain rate on a guy or two. So I think that's what he meant, on top of trying to figure out what went wrong with his crop of players that he employs now, offensively especially. I don't think he paid much attention to the pitching staff. It's pretty set, which going into last year was the question mark. Now going into this year, every year there's a different storyline, right? Going into this year, is this offense going to be fixed? Now, and to be honest, that should be his focus because even if they sign Bryce Harper, I say this a lot, that's one player, okay? He only bats one time through the order like everyone else. The Angels employ Mike Trout. They haven't won diddly. So let's not focus on what they don't have because they're, even with Bryce Harper, 8 other guys have to bat. You know what I mean? With Bryce Harper. So they need to fix Wilson Contreras. They need to get a full year out of Almora. They need to get more out of Hayward, more out of Schwarber. Make sure Bryant's healthy. So he's been working hard at that and then working extra hard because he doesn't have the paper and the pencils and the pens I was talking about.
Yeah.
He's got to do it. He's got to do it by hand. And that's why I think he's been working as hard as he has been. Plus coaching turnover. Coaching hires and internal hires takes a lot of time. You want to make sure you get the right guy. So that took up a lot of October and early November.
Now, I'm glad you brought that up, Jesse. You mentioned last time you were on us in the fall, with the Chili Davis, being let go. You kind of said or pointed the finger that, the Cubs didn't produce well, and he didn't really get his job done to what their expectations were. But you kind of said, hey, Theo and Jed, you guys made that move to bring him in here, so you're kind of to blame for the lackadaisical hitting that the Cubs weren't able to put together consistently over a long period of time. Do you remember saying that, and do you still agree with that comment that you made?
Yeah, I think you said it right, except for maybe one thing. I think that Chili, in what you're getting at and what I was getting at is, I think Chili did what he was asked to do, and that is teach this team how to hit the other way, teach this team some situational hitting. They led the league in opposite field hits. They were better in situations, man on third, less than 2 outs. Now, it came at the expense of some power, but I don't know if that's on Chili because this is what his expertise is in. And so I do blame Jed and Theo for, I thought, overreacting, and Joe, by the way, overreacting to the playoffs in 2017 and making the hitting coach change. So, yeah, I still blame them. And even Theo and Jed and Joe have said that Chili is an excellent hitting coach. He just didn't bond with these players. And I give credit to all parties. They were professional about it. Even Chris Bryant said, look, I like Chili. He would tell me stories about not meshing with hitting coaches. Our philosophies were just different. And so when they're different, what's the point? So they made the change because there was just too many differing philosophies on that team compared to what Chili Davis is asking them to do. So it was really business, not personal, in the truest sense. And now we'll see what sort of going back to the Maley school of thought with Anthony Iapoce is going to bring them. We'll see. But I think we're going to see an increase in home runs at the very least.
So would you say it was kind of a when you oversteer and then you got to oversteer back to get back, and you try to avoid getting in the ditch, you end up in a deeper ditch.
Oh, jeez.
It's possible, yeah. I mean, definitely. I think so far that's happened. Now let's see if they steer back. Maybe here's the goal. Some of the best qualities that Chili did impart on some of these guys sticks with them. 2-strike hitting, for example, situational hitting, for example, and then Iapoce, who studied under John Maley, brings out the launch angle aspect of it, and on ball strike one and before strike two, you're looking to launch the ball into the stands to hit it over the shift instead of trying to hit it through or whatever. So you want that combination. I think Joe, Jed, and Theo had the right thought process. I just think they steered a little bit too much the other way last year, and they're trying to fix that.
Hey, Jesse, before we let you go, we got to ask you about the Addison Russell situation. Was he at the convention?
No, they didn't. They didn't invite him. It just would have been really awkward. It's a fun, positive experience. And he's got therapy and counseling to do, so he was not there. So
the big question mark behind Addison Russell, and we know he's going to be out 40 games at the start of 2019, and there's been some rumblings as far as the contract numbers that once he comes back and if he's still a part of the Cubs, I don't know if this happens if they let him go or whatever, but if he's still a part of the Cubs and he appears in 30, 60, 90 games, I believe, he gets a bump each time. So if he plays, all the games that are under contract and these bonuses are there, it's like it seems like he's getting rewarded for 40 days suspension based on the numbers.
Yeah, it's a complicated thing. Let's just start with this. Whatever he makes is going to be, even with the bonuses, is going to be well below what he would have gotten if he was in good standing. The contract he signed was well below, even though he got a raise. It's just weird in baseball. Everybody gets a raise. It just depends on how much. He got the smallest possible raise because of the situation he's in. And, of course, he's got 28 more games. He served 12, so he won't get paid for the first month of the season, so he's going to make even less. But there's what I'm saying about it's complicated is the union. The union's involved in this as well. And Scott Boras. I mean, the Cubs would have loved to just sign him for bare minimum, right, for nothing and give him nothing. But that's just not how it works. If he's in good standing and he's on the roster, which means he hasn't been further suspended, they are, so to speak, going to reward him. But it's not really rewarding him. It's just getting him back to a more decent number, but still well below what he would have gotten. So it's splitting hairs. If you don't like that he's on the team, you don't like that he's on the team. But if he's on the team, just know he's not going to make what he could have, even if he meets all those incentives. Yeah. But the union got involved very much so, and Scott Boras, because there is a mechanism. Here's the thing people have to realize. I know it's obvious, but if you're suspended for this, there is a mechanism for you to return and not be shunned by baseball. If you check all those boxes, counseling, therapy, you get your payday eventually. You get, now maybe people are upset if they want zero tolerance. If you're accused of this, if you're guilty of this, you don't come back from it. But right now the rules say you do. So when in that case, there's a negotiation that has to happen. But just know this, he's not making as much as he would have. Yeah, some people look at it as it's just a paid vacation for the guy because all these bonuses are placed into the contract. But I certainly understand, what you're saying. The other side of it. Yeah, I get it. I certainly understand it. And it's just, how the game is played, so to speak, and no pun intended. But, right. Hopefully all parties involved with this will, come out okay and they can move past this and
continue to live their lives. Jesse, you continue to live your life. You continue to do the best job that you do over there at ESPN AM 1000. Give my best to all the guys over there, Carmen, Yurko, Jay Hood, JD, Sylvie. Get all the best. Adam Dell, tell them all I said hello, okay?
I will do that, Jerry. Take care, buddy. Good
You're the
talking
best,
to you
man.
guys.
Enjoy yourself. Take care.
You got it. Bye-bye.
Jesse Rogers joining us on our TRS60 hotline. Folks, we're going to take a short time out. We're going to switch gears, and we're going to go over to basketball for sure. You've got the Rewind Sports 60. Sam Smith, Bulls.com, coming up, covering the Chicago Bulls. You've got the Rewind Sports 60.
You're watching the Rewind Sports 60. Go Illini!
Jerry Riles in the house. Cirinello's Restaurante Italiano. And, of course, we're joined by the gang, the Marvelous One, Dan Marvelous Marver, Danny Carlino, the Italian Stallion, and the man on the street is in the house here at Cirinello's, the Candle Room on the second floor. He's Marty-B. Marty, how are you?
Oh, terrific, Jerry. Good morning to all my good friends here at the Rewind Sports 60 on a nippy Sunday morning with full of sports discussions.
It's balmy today. What are you talking about?
Where, Arizona?
It is. I like your choice of word. It certainly is nippy out there for sure. And we want you to stay nice and warm and stay layered up. If you don't have to come out, just keep snuggled up to your smartphone device, whether it's this iPhone or it's a Samsung. If you got the PC going, the iPad, the MacBook Pro, whatever it is, listening to the Rewind Sports 60, definitely keep us locked in. And we continue on our TR60 hotline, and we switch gears and we go over to the round ball. Basketball is in the air, and, they're not the Bulls of old of what we are accustomed to back in the championship years, but
Were those highlights were in black and white, or were they in color? I forget.
no, they were in color, Danny. They
Were on VHS.
Yeah. Now that's right. That's exactly right. They're on VHS. We wish we can get back those old times for sure.
We do have consistency though now. Unfortunately,
Yeah, we do have consistency. It's not the consistency that we're looking forward to. Marvelous One. You're holding up the Chicago Sun Times.
You're doing your Harry Truman impression.
10th in a row. Unbelievable. Ladies and gentlemen, we're joined by this guy is fantastic. He is a writer for the Bulls.com, Chicago Tribune back in 79 to 2008, author of Hard Labor, The Jordan Rules, Second Coming, and There Is No Next. Ladies and gentlemen, he's the one, he's the only, the legendary one. He's Sam Smith on our TR60 hotline. Sam, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, thanks.
Hey, thank you so much for taking some time out to join us on the Rewind Sports 60. You're always a pleasure, always good following you and finding out things that maybe we didn't know about this team, or maybe what we didn't want to know about this team. But it's good to follow you and read your material, because you're definitely a Hall of Famer. Are you in the Hall of Fame yet?
Actually, I am. I don't have a nickname like all you guys, but I am fortunate enough to have, been enshrined there. So it's, very. I don't bring it up, so it's nice. But it was a very wonderful honor. I think in 2012.
There you go. So you have a nickname now. Well, it's not a nickname. It's an honor. We'll call you the Hall of Famer, Sam Smith. Sam, hey, thanks, man. Listen, it's been kind of tough. I don't know where we start, but it's certainly been tough. If John Paxson and Garth Foreman think it's been tough, the fan base, I know they're reeling, because Chicagoans, we love, it's a blue collar town, and we love our teams, and we want to see that championship feel. We see what the Cubs have been able to do over the past few years. We see what the Bears are in the process of doing. We even see what the White Sox are trying to do. It's tough as far as the ice is concerned with the Blackhawks, but the Bulls, it's extremely tough. How have you been able to handle this? You've been covering for years. How have you been able to handle this season thus far?
Oh, it's great. I love all the seasons. Doesn't bother me. It's actually similar. You mentioned the championships before. It's actually similar to that, because right after that, they had a period where they won
15 games one season, and 17, and 21. So they've had a bunch of these seasons in a very similar arc in going from championships to the bottom of the league, which is, in some cases not that uncommon. But yeah, and actually, since you bring up all the Chicago teams, it's actually kind of similar to that. I think, as long as I've been in Chicago for 40-some years, until the last couple, the Cubs were, sort of a joke, and sort of the Bears last, until this year. In fact, I'm sure on your show at the beginning of the season, you were picking what, 7-9, 6-10.
Yep.
So
yep.
Probably, I didn't see any. Not to say the Bulls are in good shape. They're not. It's just, it's an awful down period, and it's the difference with the NBA. It's interesting with the Bears. That I think they were better. Media is always behind on everything. I understand that. They were better than given credit for, but then they added a player, a defensive player from Oakland, a star level, even though he can't impact the game.
Khalil Mack.
Right. Like a great player can in the NBA, even a great quarterback. I guess it can have, somewhat similar, but you in the NBA, you need that one elite player. LeBron James, all of a sudden, he goes to the Lakers. They're in contention in the top 4. He gets injured, and they can't win a game, except the Bulls, of course. But, so that that's where they are. Can they find a elite player? And they've got a couple of good players. They don't have that player yet, and that's what the NBA is about. They didn't really. They got better in the early 2000s and improved, but until they got Derrick Rose at an MVP level, they weren't anywhere near a serious contending team. And that's where they are now.
Hey, Sam, are the Bulls, some people think that they're tanking so that they can put themselves in position to get the top pick, the kid out of Duke. Is that going on, or they're just simply bad?
Yeah, they're not doing it on purpose, unfortunately. And they fell into this position initially because of the injuries. They moved. They started the season believing, and I agreed with it. They could win 35 games and, make a move, jump from last season and, sort of be on a progression. Maybe contend for the playoffs, which is no great honor, to be 8. But, at least being, have a conversation about the team into March, maybe into April, and then, and then have feeling that, with a player or two in the off season, you can make that next step. And so, losing marketing, done, Portis, Valentine, basically, lost 4 of the top 6, 7 players for in the first 2 months, buried their season. Then they changed coaches, so now you're starting, all over again in the middle of the season, and so it's hard to dig out of that, and that's where they are now. They're tanking without trying to, just because of circumstances. Now they've got most of those guys back, although the rookie Carter got hurt, and probably going to miss the rest of the season. But still, their thing was about can we get development with Levine and Marketing and Dunn, and that's sort of become confused, and to me that's the big worry the team has now. They were wagering a lot on these 3 players, and they've sort of leveled off. So now they've got 35 games to try to get those guys going more than get the wins. The NBA changed the lottery this year so that essentially almost the 5 worst teams have almost similar odds to getting the number 1 pick. So they're just, by inertia, they're going to be in that position. The teams with the 3 worst records have the identical odds now, which go down. It was 25% for the top pick before, which you had a pretty good chance of finishing last.
Right.
Now it's 14% for the 3 with the worst, and then it goes down to 12-5 and 10-5 or something. So, basically you could have the 4th or 5th worst record and have essentially the same odds to get the top pick as the team with the worst record. So, I think just by the nature of the way the season's gone, they're going to be in that group. I mean, they got the second worst record now, and they're playing the team with the worst record tomorrow, and if they lose to them, they'll have the worst record. So,
right.
And on the road, so they're not going to have to do much to get there.
Yeah.
So if they lose, do we get tacos?
Danny
No,
said
that was for winning in L.A.
Yeah.
And it was 2 for 99 cents out there. They got really cheap tacos.
That's true. Hey, Sam, did the Bulls, John Paxson, Gar Forman, did they make a bad move in announcing that Boylan was going to be not the interim coach, but the coach the rest of this year and next year as well? Did they make a mistake telling that to the fan base?
Well, I think everything is up for review after the season. You could say whatever you want about, somebody's going to be here, somebody's not. I thought it was premature to make the coaching move when they did. I wouldn't have done that just because, all the players are still out. And, but I guess in their mind they had felt, that it was the premature, it was too late. And I think they probably were thinking, we wanted to do this after the season, and we should have done it last summer, but we didn't. So, and then they probably got to thinking during the season, we're going to do this anyway, so let's do it and give this guy a test run for a couple of months to see, if he is, and then we can make the judgment. I think it was kind of misunderstood about the contract, with Boylan. He has an assistant contract through the end of next season.
Right.
Along with the same contract length as Fred Hoiberg had. So he's been under contract through next season anyway. I think they just wanted to send a message to the team that, it's not the substitute teacher. You can't throw spitballs. This guy's going to be here. I think all that, can change at any time. And certainly, the way the season is going, I think there'll be a review of everything after this season anyway.
Yeah,
that's what every organization does.
You forgot the whoopee cushion also, right?
We couldn't afford that when I went to school.
Sam Smith, before we let you go, talk about Dwayne Wade, his final appearance playing at the United Center, a Chicago homegrown product. Talk about his experience and his careers in the NBA.
Well, I'm a little bit on this one. Dwayne's had a great career. If you remember back, the Bulls couldn't believe that they didn't get him. The Miami wasn't interested. They had watched him for years, and they were so certain they were going to have him that they didn't even have a backup plan. And then when Miami took him with the 5th pick in that draft, they scrambled, ended up with a good pick in Kirk Heinrich. But they saw their future with him, and that would have been a heck of a run, to have him and the great accomplishments and everything. And, he's amazingly, for a kid who wasn't that celebrated in high school, he wasn't one of the great high school players here. And then really even in Marquette early on, worked himself into one of the great shooting guards in the history of the league, actually, and without a very good shot. So, amazing to him. Now, the other part of that is I really thought coming to Chicago was a mistake for him and a mistake for the Bulls. His year here was a disaster. He alienated the team. The team resented him. It was really bad. It was one of the worst circumstances I've been involved in with the Bulls in 30-some, 40 years or whatever. So you could take that out of it, and I certainly do. When I look at his career, it's sort of like Joe Namath with the Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah.
I don't think you think about that much, nor do you want to. Beyond that, up to that point, Dwayne Wade has been, one of the great treasures in the NBA, and glad to have had him around all this period of time.
Last question before we let you go, and thank you so much for sharing your time with us. He was asked a question: Is he the best basketball player to come out of Chicago? And he said no. He gave the top bill to Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Thomas retweeted or tweeted back saying, no, this guy is definitely the best. Who's the best basketball player to come out of Chicago in your opinion?
Well, maybe greatest impact was George Mikan. As far as winning championships. As far as talent, I don't think there's any question Isaiah was a greater talent. And especially, having to do what he did, coming in, winning a couple of titles, sort of carrying that team the way he did, and really what's probably the greatest era the NBA's had in the 80s with Jordan and Bird and Magic and all that. It's no negative to be number 2 or 3 or whatever the case might be.
Sure.
But when people have asked me over the years, as far as the modern era of Chicago, I've always, without hesitation, thought of Isaiah first.
Yeah. Isaiah was from St. Joe's all the way through Indiana and to the pros. Of course, when he became a bad boy and they, body slammed Jordan all over the place, he wasn't.
Everybody else did.
Yeah, everyone else did.
He was too small to do that.
Well, he walked off the court and didn't
Well, that's a
congratulate him.
different
So I mean, other than that, Isaiah, he's probably he's definitely in the team photo
There's
for
no
sure.
question about it. Doesn't matter.
It's interesting you didn't ask about that, but you know what? That's waiting on the court to congratulate the guy who just beat you. Nobody did that when I was growing up. Russell and Chamberlain never did stuff like that. Oscar never did that. Why? I don't get all the hugging that goes on today after the game. What's that about?
I don't know, Sam.
You're competing against these guys. I hate that stuff.
Yeah.
So, I never quite understood. Part of it was they walked off, 7 seconds before the game and the end of it. Well, whatever. You want teams to compete. I liked it when teams competed like that. I don't like when they're hugging all the time.
Yeah, I agree with you. Whether it's on the court, whether it's on the football field, whatever, your job is to rip somebody's head off or go for the jugular. And nowadays, these guys they're picking each other up and patting each other.
Brand.
Yeah, they many of them have the same
Well,
agent.
guys who are great competitors to me always it seemed they felt really bad when they lost. And the last thing to me. I know, you're a good sportsman by playing the game the right way. You don't have to show it, by giving somebody a peck on the cheek after the game's over.
Well, Magic and Isaiah did it back in the day, so I
That was before the game, not after.
There you go. Hey, Sam, thank you so very much. Keep up the great work, and we'll definitely be in contact with you as we move forward. Hopefully, we'll get a chance to talk with you around the NBA All-Star that's coming up game shortly, and we'll see what's going on in the second half. Keep up the good work, my good friend.
Yeah, I hope I get a nickname before the next time I come back on the show.
You're the Hall of Famer, Sam the Hall of Famer Smith.
He's asking for more creativity.
Sudden Sam.
Sam, take care, my good friend. Enjoy.
All right, guys.
He's the best. Sam Smith on our TRS60.
You're watching the Rewind Sports 60. Go Illini!
I'm Jerry Riles saying thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great rest of your weekend. Hey, fantastic week. Stay warm. We'll see you bright and early next time right here at Serenello's Restaurante Italiano here in the heart of Wheeling. Take care, everybody.